Hi, welcome everybody to the 8th conversation with the legendary Victor Niederhoffer. It's December 21st, and what a great day in the markets today. Another amazing day of duplicity. We sold off after hours only to come back, amazing comeback, 100 points, with the last great swing was 70 points with pretty much no pullbacks at all. It was relentless buying all day since 10:30. And as Victor has been short going into today, I'm sure you had a great day. Would you mind telling us what was your strategy for covering your position? Did you cover it overnight? Do you trade overnight?
Oh, the market opened at 37.24. It opened up 15 points. So there was panic buying at the open.
Overnight, right.
And then from there, it was straight down. It broke the 3,600 number, went to 35.96. And then gold was also quite exciting. It was up 15 on the day. And then it was moved down 8 on the day. Ended down 6 at 13.82. The bonds were finally managed to go down. There's the one market that went down. Everything.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was a very woke day. And that's why the market was so strong. I think it illustrates the point that we've always said that takes courage to be in the market, and it took a lot of courage to be long the market as it was going up 100 points from 35.96. In New York, a typical thing happened. The Dalton School, which my brother's first 2 children went to, and my brother-in-law goes there. They had a 12-point program for wokeness in terms of they want to have 8 diversity offices for blacks, and all exams that are where there's a disproportionate representation of whites versus blacks should be banned. All courses should,
Wow.
above a certain level, like calculus and science, should be banned. And to me, that was one with they passed a stimulus bill of 5,500 pages.
5,500 pages, right.
And in that bill, they had every conceivable boondoggle for.
Well, let me give you a short example. The bill gives 135 millions to Burma, 135 to Nepal, 450 million to Ukraine, 500 million for Israel, 1.5 billion to some Asian Reassurance Initiative Act of 2018. I don't know about you, but 1.5 billion would definitely reassure me. And the most woke part of the bill is that 10 million are going to Pakistan specifically for gender programs. They even put a racehorse tax breaks in it. Some stuff about Dalai Lama, how Dalai Lama should be selected. So it's just insane. There is not any other way to describe that bill.
Well, eventually we'll reap the whirlwind from this bill. I mean, it's obvious that the bill, a 5,500 page bill, was many
Right.
weeks in the making, and it could have been passed before the election, but it was held back
Right.
until after the election. And today, Bill Barr seemed to give the president the coup de grace. He announced that he wouldn't be appointing a special counsel for Hunter Biden, that he wouldn't
Right.
be impounding the voting machine. So to me, it was a totally woke day, and that's why the market was so strong. What do you see for tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow is a little hard, but to me, the close didn't seem, or rather, it seemed so excessively bullish that I don't think it's that bullish. And I think usually after such a day, most likely it's going to be some smaller range consolidation day that's probably going to slightly pull back into today's range. And I don't expect anything major tomorrow, and probably just slow grind into Christmas. Nothing major.
What was happening in England with the new
Well,
strain virus?
right. Well, that's maybe one of another reasons why the market sold off overnight, is because England has just imposed tier 4 restriction, whatever that means. And the rumors are that this restriction is going to last till Easter. Nobody is allowed to leave London starting midnight last night. And they even closed the Eurotunnel for 48 hours, which is by itself is amazing given all the trucking industry and supply industry is going through. And allegedly there is this new strain of the virus that is more transmissible, but not more deadly. Although I really don't understand how they really know that, because it hasn't been enough time for this new strain to see if it's more deadly or less deadly or more transmissible or less. It requires time for the virus to transmit, and I'm not even sure how they test that. Sometimes they think they just make up news stories just when the information about the virus gets better with the vaccine and stuff, they make up new news stories just to bring in new lockdowns.
Were there
And
any general principles that the market showed us today? Anything that is a principle that one can take away and use for future reference?
well, the only principle I think that works in the market is buy the dip. So when the market sells off, just buy it. And like you said, hold into the close. That was one, by the way, one of the great tips for day trading that you have mentioned, I believe, in our last video. If you buy, hold till close, which has proven again to be true today.
I have a book here, 14 Methods of Operating in the Stock Market, taken from the Magazine of Wall Street, which is probably the best magazine that ever appeared regarding the stock market. They were 1924, so usually I like to only refer to books that are more than 100 years old, but This one,
Almost.
this one will make it. And the first article is a specialist in panics. And he describes how whenever a stock, he divided his income into 3 parts: money for buying panics, emergency funds, and says the stock market began to sizzle. All kinds of new industrials were floated and boomed. The Waldorf was thronged with mushroom millionaires. Stocks were going up from 2 to 10 points in a day. And all my friends were playing the game and they lost their money. And he prepared for action. Northern Pacific began a terrific rise from around 130. And my records show me that when a corner occurred, this had usually been a panic in the rest of the market. I prepared for action. And you can realize that when a fellow has been nearly 3 years preparing for a certain event to happen, he's breathless when it occurs. He bought US Steel, which had declined by 50%. Now the difference was he waited for 3 years for those events to occur. They happen now in 1 day. In other words, the market had a 3% swing from high to low. And if you bought on the breakthrough below 3,600, you would have made about 25 to 30% of the average move in the stock market for a year. So it shows how the swings are very important in the market. Anyway, he describes, the article is called A Specialist in Panics. And this article was written in 1908 when Steel Common was under 50. The article shows the value of a definite, tangible plan of operation, the importance of sticking to that plan, and the close study of Wall Street securities. That is a general principle. It's better to have a plan, even if it's a bad plan, than having no plan at all. And that's
so speaking of having a plan, do you occasionally put limit orders far away from the market? So to buy, for example, when
I always use limit orders because the VIG is too high on market orders. And I always put my limit orders well in the direction I'm trading against the current market. In other words, if I'm buying, I try to put it 5, 10 points below the current price. If I'm selling, try to put it 15 to 20 points above the current price. But today, of course, you required courage in addition to a plan. And the courage occurred to stick with the buy and hold, stick with the mantra that the more woke the market is, the better it is.
Yeah, right.
Biden is doing everything, I think, to equilibrate things. He wanted to be very equanimous before in selecting his cabinet. The New York Times had a big article about his cabinet is to the center. It's very friendly to the tech industry. It's, again, it's helpful to the coastal
Right.
infrastructure. It's good for California. It's good for New York. So
Right. Actually, Wall Street Journal had an article today, kind of to that point, that banks really don't want to lend to small businesses. This has started even before COVID, and it actually gotten worse during COVID, where large businesses could just borrow at a very low interest rate, like Walmart, Amazon, etc., while small businesses cannot borrow at all, even at a high interest rate, because the banks simply don't want to take that risk, and they don't have to, when they could just lend to big banks and make sure that they get their return. So it's yet again creates, if you want to say it, unfair competition for small businesses.
well,
So while
the stimulus bill had quite a few goodies for small businesses in it. They had some language that the PPP would only apply to non-public companies and would apply to companies that had less than 300 employees.
right,
Person wants to throw up his hands with all the posturing, all the efforts to create more power for government spending as opposed to individuals and businesses allocating their capital. And it's very discouraging, even though it's very bullish.
indeed.
All right, let's call it. We have two general principles today. Have a plan, even if it's a bad plan. Have courage and stick to buy and hold. We haven't had we had a new high, an all-time high at the open. We've gone one day without a new high. Usually that's very bullish. So it won't be long before we're at an all-time high again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor. See you tomorrow.